So it's in us all, you know. It's just some more than others what express it in the form of painting, or other people express it in, you know, we're all artists in our own right, you know. But I was depressed because I was living in this like £3 million villa, swimming pool, had everything. And I'd just done this sort of breaking into the art scene and done this thing, and people recognising me on the island, but you know, this thing with the money, but I was depressed, and I was like, what the fuck? I mean, I nearly died. It was like I was in intensive care for like 10 days, and so that was a pretty near-death experience. And the way that the operation now, they did the operation was like Victorian times.
Really?
Proper butchered me.
On this week of Disciples of Truth, we have Nickolas Dixon, a local artist, newfound friend in many aspects, and he's come on to share his journey of how he's got into art, how he sees the world, and how you perceive it all. So, welcome on, Nickolas.
Thank you, Craig. Thanks for having me.
How did the journey with art start then?
Well, it's quite a long story. I mean, people who know me obviously know the story and heard it many times. But for the ones that don't, I started out, back in the early 90s, early 90s, as a DJ stroke producer. I mean, we didn't get really that far with it, but studied it at Leeds College of Music, did the first music production course of its type in at that time. I think it was 93. It was, like I said, it was the first of its type, so there was a lot of teething problems, but it was I sort of felt like I'd found my calling, and you know, I'd been going down several different paths, some of them not so good. So it was a bit of a I felt like it was going to say it was a saviour, you know. Yeah. Music was my saviour. So we finished the course, and took a box of records to Thailand for a holiday for 3 weeks, and came back 3 years later. So, you know, like you do. But
had a good time there.
Yeah, oh God, yeah. So, but in the meantime, we're over there, we sort of got involved with the people who were putting on all the parties and on the clubs and everything. Well, they were basically the Thai mafia.
Yeah.
But they were great. We had our own bungalow accommodation, and it was like, wow, we've cracked it here, do you know? But it was a good platform because, as anybody knows, Thailand's sort of pretty much central to the world. So at that time, there was a lot of transient DJs who were like either, you know, playing in Australia or that side of the world. But there was a lot of DJs passing through. So we were sort of residents. Well, we were residents at a club called Santa Fe in Koh Samui. And then we'd play the full moon parties every month, and the black moon party. I played at the very first black moon party, which they're like just as famous as the full moon parties.
I've always heard of the full moon.
The black moon is the opposite of the full moon,
right.
So it's in between. You know, 2 weeks. It'll be 2 weeks after the full moon.
Yeah.
So, and it was the very first party. I think Brandon Block played as well. Because again, he was just over when it was on. So, but they're, like I say, they're nearly as big as the full moon parties, which is funny to think back now. Sort of nearly 30 years ago. So things were like really starting to open up. We're meeting, really interesting people who were putting on parties in Hong Kong and all over the world, and had potential to go. Had a residency in Buenos Aires.
Wow.
The two of us, my friend Nathan, who we were DJing. We weren't a double act, but we were sort of DJing. We'd gone to Thailand together, so it was like, wow, man, this is too easy, Madame Jojo's as well in London, which was a big club in the 90s, and later than that, in London. So again, it was all there on a plate, and then I didn't know it then, but my future girlfriend was a German girl. She sort of walked through the door, and everything sort of changed as soon as that happened.
Yeah.
So, sort of to condense the story, it was like, sort of through it all, it sort of took a back. It took a back step, to everything, and I just sort of went in that direction with her, and sort of travelled around Asia. Ended up living in Germany with her. It's like her dad were like mayor of this town, and it was
surreal.
Pretty surreal sort of time.
Yeah.
And
what were your mindset right before meeting that girl?
Well, just
because just for the listeners and for myself as well. How old were you around that age?
It was 23, but I was in hospital twice. My lung collapsed whilst I was DJing in a club, and it was that was pretty intense. I mean, I nearly died. It was like I was in intensive care for like 10 days. So that were a pretty near death experience, and the way that they did the operation now, they did the operation was like Victorian times.
Really?
Proper butchered me. I felt them cut my rib. I felt them cut me. It was like, oh my God, what's going on here? There was a clock, and it was like a big old school clock, and it was 55 minutes, and there were two of them with like tubes sticking them in through my ribs, and I just felt every single second of it. I can feel it now, to be honest. But
I could see you squinching up.
Yeah. So if you'd have said, do you want to tap out, die, or carry on, I'd have tapped out. It was that intense. And then it was afterwards, I spoke to a nurse, and they were like, I can't believe what they've done there. They've literally just gone to town on you. Which all I wanted to do after that was go home.
Yeah.
But then it was like the do's and don'ts with the doctor, and the doctor's like, no smoking. I'm like, yeah. So anyway, no scuba diving. I was like, no shit. I couldn't even walk from here, to the camera there. So, but and you can't fly for 6 months. So I was literally trapped.
Jesus.
And then I did something to my hand, bust all my hand off, and then I ended up in the hospital again, lost a load of blood, and it was just, I thought I was going to die. And it all came down to this Buddha, that whether people believe in that or not, but it's like, as you well know, in Thailand, everybody's Buddhist, well, majority, 99%, and because I always had this thing about dying young. My dad passed away when he got killed in a car accident when I was 1 year old. So I always had this fear of dying young, and I think that's why I was quite reckless in my youth, sort of teenage, early 20s. I was on a bit of a death wish, to be fair.
Gravitated towards it.
Yeah, so she bought me this Buddha to keep me safe. And I was like, you know, the thing with the lung, they couldn't explain it. And then the hand, because it was the hand with the glass, and it cut all my hand open, and I'd lost, you know, they said another half hour I'd have lost too much blood, and you know, I'd have died, basically.
You were teetering to edge then, weren't
you? Yeah. And so the first time I went out of the house after like a month of, you know, literally trying to walk further than 5 foot, 10 foot, 15 foot, I got on a pedal and pop, you know, the scooters, what they have. So I had my hand in a sling, and I was like with the bike, and I went to see my mate who was the other end of the beach. So there's all these big divots in the road. So I was taking it steady as, and out the corner of my eye there was this pickup. They've all got those Isuzu pickups over there, and just the moment that I approached this point in the road, there was the electric cable had dropped from the seat, and it was across the road, and the pickup 10-stay went under my mudguard, flew me off the bike, and I was like, where do I land? Do I land on my you know, on my chest with my lung? My hand would get pushed, so the safest place was to land on my head. Right? You'd had enough. And they literally did like a stuntman roll, so they were like, I should have been a stuntman, never mind a DJ. So I came back and I just said, look, I'm not having this. And she's like, oh, you are crazy and all that. So anyway, she wore it, and she went out on the bike and nothing ever happened. So she was so like stereotypically German, methodical, and you know. So she was cutting an orange or something, nearly sliced a finger off. You know, just random, like things like that didn't happen to her. And somebody run into the side of her on a bike. So she was like, you may have a
good case here.
So friends of ours who were tied because we were living there told them, they said, definitely you've got some bad juju, you know, not the tie thing, but you know what I mean. So come and see my monk. And this is when I was stuck there, and I honestly I've never been as scared in all my life, because I just felt this energy around me, and I thought, if I don't get off this island, I'm going to die. And then, so we went to see the monk, and I was knelt up, and we were in the middle of the jungle in Koh Samui, and he's looking at this Buddha, and he's like, where did you get this Buddha from? And I was like, and he's like, no, you know, where did she get it from? So, and it was like, she bought it from a man on the street, and he was like, this Buddha's eyes are closed, so it's basically got bad, because they're like amulets, and these blessed pieces of stone which are thousands of years old, and all the Buddhist monks they bless it, and that's. But how you get a proper Buddha, not the ones that are in your garden and stuff, is you get them from the temple, and you give a donation. It's not for not for monetary value, for gain. So that's where this guy's just selling these quite powerful things for money to tourists, and it's just and he was like, very bad man and all this, and he's saying, I mean, this is a bit too far. He's like, don't fly on the 18th and stuff, you know, like Final Destination. So anyway, we were like, so he said, you can still wear the Buddha. Anyway, about 2 days later, we had another arguing. She was leaving, but this is why it was crazy with her, because I was never supposed. We weren't supposed to be together, because it was so self-destructive. Yeah. And I, in the meantime, was throwing all my thing which was going to save me, my music, away for this thing which was never gonna be a future. So I threw this Buddha the wall, and I've looked, and the head had come off the Buddha. I was like, oh my God, what does that mean? So we
Like a voodoo
that was
doll.
it. Ran round to the neighbours. The argument stopped, and then it was like, take it to Big Buddha. There's thousands of them under the tree, and I just put it under the tree, and it's still there now. So, but sort of the point of the story is, whilst I was in Germany, and I was like thinking, why am I here? What have I done? I should be in Argentina now. I should be DJing in London, and I'm not, and I'm here, and why am I doing this? Do you know? Yeah. And but she was an art teacher and an artist, so that's when I first got my first sketchbook. I've always been artistic and creative, and messing around with stuff, and but I'd never ever had a a sketchbook.
Yeah, never focused on.
Yeah, so that was the one good thing with her. She encouraged that. So I started doing these crazy, what you would say, doodles. Yeah. Just with a fine line of pen. Like an architect's pen and a draftsman's pen. And they were so insane, and the detail in them. It's like I wouldn't even probably be able to do them now.
Yeah.
When you look at them, it was a timing. It was an imprint of what was going on inside. So they are quite interesting.
Yeah.
to look at. Because I wouldn't be able to replicate that now. But what it was, that was the thing that was keeping me sort of sane at that time. So the inevitable thing happened when we split up, and then I took all my 3 years of life back with me, from Thailand from Burma to Japan, and all the things I had in Germany, because I had a full flat full of everything. I mean, obviously I didn't take, but it was just like, so I had 17 bags. This was before EasyJet.
You'd have been done in at Ryanair,
mate. You are. I'd still been paying it off now. So, that was before you could take as much as you could. You could get on base. So I went from Basel to Zurich, London, Leeds with 17. I don't know how I got it all back, but I did. And then that was it. And then I was back at my mum's on a single sofa bed in Bramley, and I was like, oh man, and that was dark days. So 10 years I was doing this, that and the other, never really settled with anything, and I couldn't listen to music for
in that time period when you were back, because I remember listening back to your podcast saying when you're back to your mum's, it's a low point. I think most men have been on that, where we've had to go back with tail between his legs, and it's an awful experience, but I think it also allows you to grow a bit. Were you still doing, is that when you were burying your head in art, or were you still trying to...
No, I mean, those sketches were literally that. They were things that I did there, and then I'd pick the book up now and again, just, when I probably, off my head or something. Not like, oh no, what I'm going to do today, I'm going to, draw, I'm going to, get the sketchbook out.
Yeah.
And so these 10 years were just hiatus, I'd call it that. And I ended up with my own tiling business. Yeah. So, and it was just, which I had a few quid at, and it was when all the travertine and the Yorkshire stone, and not Yorkshire, but the stone wet rooms and stuff like that. But it was just, I was totally lost, because I knew that that wasn't what I was supposed to be doing, but what was I supposed to be doing? And I always thought it was the music.
Yeah.
So I got some more decks. I bought a few records again, tried to get in, but that boat had properly sailed, you know. But then I'd sort of met friends who are my friends to this day now, they were all creatives. It's like Frenchie and Mikey Brain, Tristan, Dave Beer, and all Back to Basics crew. And these were my people, but I'd not been with them. I'd sort of been, you know, just here, there, everywhere. You know, good friends at that time, but not who were sort of pushing me in that artistic sort of way.
Yeah.
So, and I'd found sort of, you know, my people in a way, and
How important do you think that's been for you?
yeah, massively. I think I would have found it, but it was just, I think, timing, you know, and it was the right time at that time, obviously. And so it was Mikey Brain who'd painted something at District, and it was but I'd known him for 18 months, and we'd, and I didn't even think to show him these sketches.
Yeah.
And he would just, and I was like, oh, I need to show you these, because it was sort of reminiscent, because it was black and white. And I showed him, and he was like, wow, why don't you show me these next day? So the next day, we first time I'd painted on canvas, and within 6 weeks, so we'd done that, and it was called, I think it was called The Alchemist. And it was like, so I'd sort of done the outline, and we both sort of did equal bits on it. And because his is quite abstract-y, as well, but like figurative, but you know,
It complemented
in an abstract way. And he's but it just really worked. And then we just put it on Facebook, and everybody was like, no way, where's that come from? So I was like, wow, this was, you know, this was even, it was like, I've got a second chance here after, you know, like it was the same feeling I had for the music. When I realised, you know, when I was going to college, and I thought, this is my future. And so I was so keen. I wanted to paint every day, and I've not been like that with anything.
Did
really.
you feel like that even when you were collaborating at that moment? Did you feel like that's what it were going to be that big, or were you just enjoying the moment and do it? Were you taking stands back and just? I know when you do it, I like tinkering about with stuff. And when you're standing back and you're actually enjoying it, and you're enthralled.
I really thought this is something special, you know, straight away. And I was like. And the reaction, what it got of people as well, and it was like, this something special's happening here, and the thing is, because Mikey had been an artist for 10 years, so he didn't have the same enthusiasm. It was really, I mean, without Mikey, this would not have happened. That's how it happened, and I owe a hell of a lot to Mikey, you know, and he has been a massive inspiration and a big reason for why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm forever grateful for that. But he wasn't. He'd been doing it for 10 years. I was like, Mikey, are we painting today? And he was like, oh, tomorrow, and you know, and stuff. So, but anyway, but we managed to do like 6 paintings in 15 or 16 paintings in 6 weeks.
Wow.
And then and Tom Thorpe and Bonner were putting a Circa Loco night at Stinky's on in Leeds. So we did a pre-party to that and got all suited and booted with the cravats and all that, you know. So, and we sold 6 paintings, and it was like eureka moment. And I remember sat with him, and I was like, that is why I went through that. That's why I did all that. And this is going to be my future. And I remember getting, you know, there was a lot of, like, everybody sort of came, all our friends and stuff, and, you know, some lovely sort of messages, cards and stuff, and good luck on your new journey, and really excited to see where this takes you. And that was 2010. So, and that's 15, I can't believe it's 15 years ago.
You still got the same, like, hunger for it as well.
Yeah, I'd say I have. I'm a little bit more. I won't say it's not chasing it, because that's the wrong word. But I am sort of quite well established, if you like.
Yeah.
But you've still got to, it's still a hustle.
Yeah.
You've still got to chase. You've still got to, like you were saying when we spoke about, the Venetian plastering, and there's a lot of, there's a lot of things you sort of, like I'll do mock-ups for, and you sort of, oh God, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, and then it doesn't for whatever reason, and
getting like I think maybe not trying to take words out of your mouth, but it's like getting attached to an outcome sometimes. And then when you do, I think that's when it doesn't happen.
Yeah, totally. You've got that. You've got to do reverse psychology on it.
Yeah.
It's like my mate Lee, who I used to with tiling with. He's like, "What are you doing?" He's like saying, we'll easy piss this. We'll be done by 6, and you're gonna be there 3 days later. As soon as you say that, it's going, "You fucking knobhead, why have you said that? You've proper jinxed it," So I think the more, but the thing is, what you sort of split with, it's interesting because they say about manifestation, if you believe it, you want it, it'll happen, but that doesn't tie in with that, does it? So
I think it's
like
a very delicate fine line.
You don't know what you're playing. You don't know whether to go full in. Oh yeah, I've got this or whatever.
Yeah, because I've heard a lot of people.
Keep quiet.
People say they want something so badly, they put up this kind of resistance because they're saying so much they haven't got it. So the universe is it's like, whatever the energy anyone wants to interpret it.
Basically.
It's like saying it's repelling it because you don't believe you've got it. It's something that I've been dealing with recently because I'm trying to get out of my own way. I've got all these ideas of things I want to bring to life, and I'm pretty sick of like I'll start something new and then go on to something, and now I just want to give it up to a higher power where it naturally comes. Like you just came into art. I know it were earlier days, that little inklings of how it started, but kind of fall into something naturally where it just feels like a duck to water, and that I'm not trying to force my outcome.
Your things,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, exactly. You've just got to leave. You've got to put it there, put it out there, and just work with it. But you'll know when it's right, man. It's like, and it does. And I get ideas of, say, I've got a big paint because someone will want me to do a big wall or and I've got no idea, and then middle of the night I'll be like, right, boom, 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 that. I mean, it's all quite automatic and organic anyway. But it's sort of, if I want to add a different elements, like some geometric shapes in there to border it, to make the space interesting. Not just do what I do, which I can do that, all day long. But it's not that I just churn it out, because I don't. Everything's there. If you look at it all, it looks. You can tell it's my style. But everyone's totally different, and it's what goes into that as well as a lot of symbolism and thought, which it might look random, but it's. Are
you getting like visions of this through the middle of the night as you're approaching a project then, or just sometimes while you're working on the project? It's a bit of both. It's a bit of both, because there is a lot of automatic, and sometimes I do things and I'm like, I'll mean to do it. It's quite, I just let it go. And that's how I usually start. I just go like that. And then I'll see something within that, and then it builds organic, like. But then when I try to do something, and I'll do it, and I'm like, that is not what, and I'm like, fucking hell, look at that, that's it. So it's sort of going. It's like something else is pushing me. It's like I'm just sort of the thing that's like the vessel for
the vessel for it, And like a mate of mine, Steve Hawkins, he when I'd done one of these crazy like black and white, how I used to the sort of doodle style, but it was the first solo painting I did without Mikey, and it took about 3 months to do it. I wasn't doing it solidly, but and it's a metre and a half by a metre, so it's a big canvas.
Yeah.
And he was just like that. I've never seen anything like it, and he was sort of saying that you may have even done that in your head before you've done it.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Like the imprint on
yeah, you know, without even knowing it. And that's you sort of your unconscious pushing it, do you know? And that's sort of a strap line. I don't like calling it, but it's like colouring the unconscious.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of sort of my method.
Yeah, yeah.
If you like.
So where do you think it all comes from? Because of that,
the unconscious. It's a cop out, isn't it?
No, it's a deep question. No one's even got an idea how to explain it.
But I think a lot of it, it is quite primeval. Do you know? I was watching something last night with that Steve Backshall. Do you know he's just like an explorer. He's doing crazy, climbs mountains, dives. Done a cave diving, which I would never ever do in my life. That just gives me. Oh man, it's like being stuck under your bed when you're like 3 years old.
It's like my friend at work. He says I've started watching these people climbing through caves, and I used to love it as a kid, and now I can't watch it.
No,
and I think he watched the documentary where there's that bloke who gets stuck. And I think his wife has to come up, and they couldn't get him out. He'd been upside down, I think, for 18 hours. He'd gone way past what he should have done. And they're like, there's just not what we can do. And I'm like, that's it. Isn't that film enough to put people?
Yeah, exactly.
I guess if that's your passion, that's your passion.
Yeah, and those who lose the lifeline, you know, it gets cut or something. Yeah. And it's like you just get this where, you know, totally disorientated. And they got through to these caves, and they were like, obviously, you know, like, and it was the Mayans in that area, and they were in unchat. They knew that this was like no one had ever been there, and but before that, should I say, sorry, they went further than that with the oxygen gear and all the rest of it, and but there was like there was cave paintings, but the sort of how the rock was, and it reminded me sort of similar to what my paintings are about, and they'd used like the rock as like figures like animals, and they put like an eye in there, and then then the bit of the other rock looked like the leg, but these are like thousands of years old, so it is a primal thing in us. So it's in us all, you know. It's just some more than others express it in the form of painting, or other people express it in, you know, we're all artists in our own right, you know. And anything that's not been created and you create is art, isn't it? So
do you think there's a lack of that in the world, or do you think it's coming back?
Oh God, I mean, with all this AI and everything, I think I think we're going to be relying too much on robots, do you know? And I think that can make people lazy and cheat, do you know? But I think like with painters and stuff, I think that they'll be okay. But it's like writers and stuff like that. It's just so easy to just whack it into Copilot, and who's gonna know?
See, I use Gary V. Gary V's used a good method. He says use your own, like, my punctuality ain't great, so he's like, write your own idea of how you want a script to come up, write it. So let AI generate it, and then you start tweaking the bits you don't like. So he says you're still your idea. It's just it's like having a teacher put up, and eventually you'll start to be speaking like that anyway. And I don't believe AI can pick up humour like what we find funny. No. We use CapCut and stuff for editing videos, and then when I've looked at them manually, they don't give up the same clips of what I'd pick up.
Yeah.
You know, when I've listened to it back, because it don't pick up on humour. It picks.
Yeah.
It likes to say a lot about magic mushrooms. So at the moment, it's always top one.
I wonder why.
I like that. So it's not me trying to advertise it. It's AI at the moment. So make of that what you wish.
Yeah, it might be having a good time itself. Like.
But do you think like in schools they're maybe not? They're not tapping into, well, maybe opening it up so children can tap into creative endeavours.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just going back, I mean, I know it's a long time ago since I was at school, but, you know, being an artist was never an option.
Yeah.
And I still don't think it is today.
No.
Do you know, it's like graphic art, but even that now with like AI and stuff, it's you know, a lot of that's being overtaken by that. So it's like when I do go into schools and there's nothing more, you know, sort of raw and honest as kids are, than just seeing them painting and it's great because I've done a couple of you know, with the kids where, you know, I'll do the outline and they put in there, you know, it's like what's important to you. One might have a football, one might have an Xbox, one might have a car, one might have a doll, one might have, I don't know, eggs, whatever. But it's just allowing them to you know, to put their personality on a thing which is going to be there for a long time, and that's the great thing with public art as well. And it's something which, you know, it's not in a book or you know, like or a way where people can see it. It's there for a long time.
It makes you feel different. I've always been. I've always loved graffiti if it's done in the right way, or like art, where it's put up, because it makes you stand back and actually appreciate it, doesn't it?
Definitely.
And especially with the colour that you've started to put in, it's beautiful, isn't it?
Oh, nice.
So no, it's.
But the thing with it's just encouraging kids to keep that being a kid, you know. But we're all being taught to grow up, aren't we? And you know, and
that's
all
what I'm
that,
gonna say. When you got into art, did it feel like you were an inner child, like
yeah,
sparked up, where you're like a new lease for life?
Absolutely, I'm like that anyway. So.
And is that sorry? His name who were you helping with on the project? Who sparked it?
Mikey Bray.
Yeah. Is it when you got excited and you were like kept on pushing him to keep on going the next day? Did it spark something else in him? Did you see a spring in his step come forward as well?
It did, and we did some great paintings, and then but he sort of encouraged me to, you know, look, you don't need me kind of thing, which was at the time I was like, what do you mean? You know, like sort of
you wanted to stabilise us a little bit,
like. Not took it personally, but it was but that was quite scary actually when I think back. But you know, he was doing it for the right reason, and it was like, and that's when I, you know, did my first painting, and then I did, but I was painting big straight away, you know, not like, because a lot of things what scare artists are blank canvases. Do you know, and it can be, you can look at it and for days sometimes, do you know, I mean, I not necessarily, but, I know that artists do have committing to that first, which it is quite nerve-wracking.
Is it like writer's block?
Yeah, and what you're going to do, where's it going to go, and but once you start, then it just. But I have sort of. It was good because I was like, my first paintings were like the biggest I could buy, basically. Yeah. 1.5 meters by a meter. So when I was doing that, all I wanted to do was go bigger and bigger, and because the bigger it is, the more I can get into it, the more expression, the more symbols I can put in there, and it works. the bigger the better. Basically, it works. It's got more impact. So yeah.
Do you like the idea of a project as well, like going on a bit longer as well?
Yeah, but it's fucking hard work though. It's like, like I used to be a Thailand, and I'm not shy of hard work and putting in 15, 16-hour days. You know what it's like if you've got a deadline. It needs to be done. So that's the same, doing 12, 13 hours a day up in a scaffold tower, and in all weathers as well. It can be red hot, which is just as bad as it being.
Is it like mentally draining as well? Do you feel tired at the end of the day, or do you feel like you've charged up a bit more?
Yeah, well, like every day. Yeah, I think when when you're done. I mean, some days you just like 3 hours. Right, I've had enough today.
Yeah,
and then you just take a photograph, go home, condense what you're doing, and oh yeah, that looks great, and just get prepared for the next day, and then you wake up and you feel tired, like you've been playing football, rugby, or been in the gym or whatever. But once you get up and moving and get your muscles going and you get your metabolism going, you're off again.
Yeah.
But it does, and it's mentally and physically, because the mental thing is I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So it's every single element to that painting, that mural is not being created yet.
Yeah.
And it's not been thought about yet. It's thought about when I'm doing it. So that can put you under pressure, and sometimes, like I've just done I don't know if you've seen it, Escape in Castleford.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
So it's a lift shaft. So I've gone up so high, and then I'm going back to do the rest of it. So it was just that's how it was organised anyway. So, but when you're in a public space, you've got people walking, and especially when you start, you could turn around and people look like, what the fuck's that? What are you doing? Like puzzled look. And that's what they're thinking.
Yeah,
but they're like, I mean, some of them don't care. They'll just say, what's it supposed to be? Like that. That's a beauty. Now, what is it? I'm like, oh God. Just how long you got?
What do you think it is?
Yeah, exactly. That one, and then it's like they just go away shaking their head. So, but it's not for them, is it? But then when the more that it grows, people, that same person might come back and go, all right, I can sort of see what's happening now. Still ain't got a clue what it is, because one of them says,
but I can appreciate
I don't know what it is, but I like it. Like this guy from Pontefract, he didn't have a clue what it was, but just something resonated, and I was like, well, that's it, that's beauty, that's what it's all about. But there were times when, because my girlfriend Jo, she's an artist as well, she's a yoga teacher, and we've got a lot of similar things what we're both interested in, which is great. So she came and helped me for the day, and because she was there, I was like, because I was like really unsure about this bit, and it wasn't fitting right, and there's a lot of, because I do it in pencil to start with, that don't look right, rubbing out and rubbing, I'm standing back and walking away, because if I'm on my own, I'll just go for a walk, come back, and then, a fresh set of eyes. But if there's people, I mean, I wasn't just said with Jo, but you feel pressure because she stood there, she's there to help you, and I'm like, she's not doing anything, so I know the feeling. I want her to be, like, I'm bored here, do you know what I mean? She wasn't bored at all, but in your mind you're feeling that. But it's like, just if you sense that somebody's watching you as well, and I'm like,
you can feel it, can't you?
I'm like, I don't really know what I'm doing here.
Just making it up.
Not yet, but I will in a minute, but you can feel really under pressure, and when it's in public, if I'm sort of painting, if I'm doing a painting, and there's no one there, then it will come when it comes, and I was watching a thing, funnily enough, last night. John Hoyland is an old abstract painter from the 60s, 70s. Oh man, it was mental, his process, and he was this canvas. It took him 6 days, but it just looked nothing like how it went through about 8 different
processes.
It looked like 8 different things, you know, and he was going over it, throwing stuff at it, and you know, and it was like, and he was saying, he said, I don't know what I'm doing, you know, but he was like, you know, one of the most famous sort of abstract painters of his time, and his paintings went for hundreds of millions, I think. You know, it's just, to be honest, he in that sort of abstract world, because I think mine's more. It started off really abstract, but I make sort of things into it, so it's sort of turned into. I don't like labels either, because I'm not I'm self-taught, and I don't, you know, there's theory of colour and all that, which I like to break as well.
Yeah.
And the less rules you adhere to, I think it gives you more freedom. And you know, and sort of, you can be too rigid. You can have too much knowledge sometimes. You know, and I think that's what a lot of sort of, you know, people who study art, you know,
become too much of a judge.
They can, and they're too scared, because they're like, oh well, so and so told me
from that click
that's
over there.
That's not right to do it like that, and then it's hard to break that cycle.
Here at Disciples of Truth, we're proud to partner up with Charlie's Apothecary. Charlie's got some cracking products. I mean, cracking. And to start off with, it'd be cordyceps, and it's the first product I actually tried at Charlie's. And it's a dual extraction, and cordyceps is renowned for natural energy booster, helps fight diseases, and it's great for sex drive for those that care to wish, and you can wish. But no, on a serious note, I don't like going to the gym. If you've got low energy, I don't like the pre-workouts. This is great with a few drops of water. Swig it down, swirl it around your mouth, and off you go. And it can be aided throughout the day. And then the next product we've got is my personal favourite, is the fall blended salts. Salts gets a really bad rap through propaganda and doctors saying that we overuse it, when it's not true at all. To get the best salts in is one of the most natural ways of getting all the essential minerals into your body flow, so I'd give it a go. And it has Salinas del Carmen salt that originates from the Canary Islands, Fuerteventura, if you really want to know. It's one of the highest grades that you can have, and then it's got another three blends to go with. And the next product we've got, it really doesn't need an introduction. It's Shilajit. You must see it everywhere. It's got 85 trace minerals, and it's good for energy, mental health, and clarity. And this is sourced from the Himalayan mountains. And I've tried many different brands of Shilajit, and I'd put this at the top of the ladder. And it's really nice packaging as well. And then last but not least is the oregano. It's the triple extraction. This is good for boost immunity, gut health, lowers cholesterol, fights inflammation, it aids weight loss, and I've just personally used this. The house got, some of us family members got sick, and it kept it off, and I haven't managed to get sick through it. Same again, put in water, swirl around the mouth. Brilliant products. What you also get from these products is it's handcrafted. He puts a lot of time and effort in and his team. It's UK only at the moment until it expands more. So it's only UK only, postage and packaging. What Charlie also does is he grows his own mushrooms. So we know that they're tried, tested, and they're also for freshness. So hit the link in the bio and go check out Charlie's new website. So all his range of products is on there, and there's something for everyone. So yeah, go check it out, guys.
So I'm thinking same thing is like with me. I've been quite judgy recently, and it's like when I'm over judging on myself to step out of my comfort sometimes. Yeah. So were you saying that it's kind of reflected back a bit?
Yeah. It's I just think, you've just got to
Get out of your own way a bit.
just get it. Yeah, just get stop. Don't overthink it as well. Do you know? And it'll come. It'll come. Just get it. If it's in there, it'll come out, and that's the thing. And you've just got to be ready for when it.
Do you feel like sometimes? When do you feel like your best work's happening? Do you feel like sometimes if you're in a pissed off mood, maybe angry, or is it sometimes when you're just at peace, or is it?
Well, they always say, like, because when I was in Ibiza and I lived there, and I was like, we did painted a hotel, an art hotel, and that was like early on. I'd only been painting a couple of years, and I ended up doing a full foyer.
Done really well, haven't you?
No, I did all right. Yeah. Well, I've done all right. I did all right.
You're like putting it deep end.
Yeah, not many.
But you could swim, couldn't you? So
well, yeah, but I had chains on and everything, like proper Houdini at that one. And it was with some of the great, like Inky, Findak, all like massive street art, artists. Back then, they've been around for years, and the people who I look up to, and I'm lucky enough to be good friends with now, especially Inky. We go to Africa together and stuff, and I'm going to be doing something in York for the upcoming bomb squad, and the takeover this. But it used to be an insurance building on Oosgate, and it's all like graffitied out, and different artists and stuff. So they've done it for the last 3 years. So anyway, I'm doing it with Inky this time, so I'm excited about that. But yeah, before I forget what I'm talking about, I get going off on a tangent.
No, you're right.
So when I was in Ibiza, and I was, I got stitched up with the money basically. So we were living there, and I'm still owed money to this day, but anyway, you can have it.
It'll come back in another way, won't it?
Yeah, well, it has already. So. But I was sort of there waiting for this money, and then I was doing other little bits, but it wasn't, because I thought, right, I'll go once I do this and this opens and that, blah blah. People are wanting me to paint the villas and do this and that, and it didn't happen like that, and it usually doesn't. What you think, right, once I do this mural, everyone's going to go mad and the phone's not going to stop ringing, and it doesn't work like that. Everything's quite subtle, and then the things that you don't think then sort of go, wow, that's gone as that. So so you've just got to leave it to what it is, and don't be too disappointed if it doesn't. So and I was quite depressed over there. I was living in this villa with my mate and a couple of others, and I couldn't pay the rent, and he was paying like 60 grand a month for this villa. Yeah. So he were getting pressured, and he were pressuring me, and I was trying to get the money off him, and it was just an awful cycle. And but I was depressed because I was living in this like £3 million villa, swimming pool, had everything. And I'd just done this, sort of breaking into the art scene and done this thing, and people were recognising me on the island, but this thing with the money, but I was depressed, and I was like, what the fuck, what's this? This is new on me, and then it was like, just paint, and I was like, I can't, I don't want, and I did, and it made me feel better, and I did one of my best sort of pieces, but as a rule, I don't. It always makes me feel better, but I prefer not to. Yeah. Well, I just prefer not to feel like shit.
Yeah, I prefer that.
Yeah.
But it's quite funny that you said it's one of your best bits as well.
What's that?
You said like it's one of your best bits as well.
Yeah. Well, it was at the time, but it does. And if I am sort of feeling a bit low and a bit down and stuff, and I can't be bothered, but that's like your inner voice, and that's your ego or whatever you want to call it, saying, don't bother, what's the point, it's shit anyway, and all that, and then you do it, and it just always makes you feel better, so
Do the things that you enjoy, and then it'll
definitely.
all unfold, won't it?
And then at least you've done something, and even if it's an hour, it's like rather that than procrastinating and doing your own heading. And,
I think that's the world's worst. I think a lot of people do procrastinate. I know I for one sometimes. And you've got all these tasks, and it's like just bite-size it. Just go to one and just... You can only do one at a time anyway.
Tick it off. Right,
and then you build a bit of momentum, don't you?
Yeah.
And when you were going on about that earlier, that's what Rick Rubin were kind of saying. It's like, just...
his books in my bag.
He's amazing. I didn't know who he was until I watched his podcast, and so insightful. And he's never took psychedelics or anything. How he tuned in he is. And he was saying, just create what... As long as you love it, someone else will love it.
Yeah,
but don't get fixated on the outcome of how... It's going to be
absolutely.
How people are going to approach it.
Well, he's totally self-taught, didn't he? He produced it, and he had no clue.
Yeah.
Of course he had a clue.
Yeah.
But he was totally self-taught, and he just went in, and that's how he started with the music business.
Just an amazing mindset in there.
There was a thing. There's a few little quote I'd saw. It's funny because I put that. Joe bought me the book.
Again, another synchronicity for you.
Yeah, and I've been trying to start. Well, you know what it's like when you get a book. I need to read this book, and I've just started reading a little bit of it. It's like the imagination has no limits. The physical world does. The work exists in both. But it's funny that the vessel and the filter thing, each of us has a container within it constantly being filmed with data. It holds the sum total of our thoughts, feelings and dreams and experiences of the world. This is the vessel. I won't go on, but it's just,
an insight to it.
An insight, yeah. But, I look forward to reading more of that book.
I'm going to go back to, and it might be other people that have listened to your previous podcast with White Fox. White Fox podcast.
Charlie.
And you were on about, it's something that keeps on bobbing up for me, is like seeing a lot of footballers recently, like young lads, and my son's just got into it, and there's a big push for people to make it, and I think it's more about them having. I know for my son, it's like I didn't personally want him to go into it, but he has, and he's gravitated towards it. It's more about him having fun.
How old is he?
He's only 6,
right?
So he's loving it. But I could see joy on his face, and first time we were going to play, we're going to win all this, and me and Zoe sat him down and like, look, mate, you're a brand new team. You're probably not going to win. Just enjoy it. Yeah. And then I think they got beat. It were a heavy scoreline, but he enjoyed tackling and stuff. And I said to him at the end of the game, I said, "You enjoy that?" He went, "Yeah." I said, "What were your favourite bit?" And he went, "All of it." He just played with a smile. Yeah. And they've won a few games since. But there's a lot. I see it. I've seen it within the family, and there's a big push to make these academy teams.
Yeah.
But the big thing is, for me, there's a lot of people that don't make it. Yeah. And when it comes to end of that tracks, and they've all had this validation straight after the game, and it's a big drop. And I've seen a lot of people just don't want to pick up that football again, or whatever sport it may be. You don't even have to resonate just with football.
Yeah.
I've just wanted to know, like, listening to when I've listened to that podcast, and you said it were a really difficult time of not hearing your name called out. And where did it what were it like leading up and being in it, and what was it like after?
Well, because it was a given I was going to be a professional footballer, and I was so convinced, but it was like everybody who, was around me felt the same. It wasn't just one of those, not like your lad at 6 going da, which is a different, different thing, and that's, if you could keep that mindset for 6, but it doesn't. It gets serious as the older you get, and it's too serious now, and that's it is a big problem. But it totally, it broke my heart massively, and it had a big factor in me going off the rails, basically. And sort of blaming the world, it was like, this isn't fair, and because it wasn't fair, and I'm not just saying that. It was there were a lot of politics involved because of who was picking the thingy, and because I had a bit of a reputation for being a bit of a
lad.
A bit of an handful. So they didn't want that. Whereas, which I know, there's a lot of temperament thing. There's footballers in this. You probably get a better England team out of the ones that didn't make it. As far as skill set, but the temperament's a different thing. But if I was, if the people had worked with me with that would have been ironed out.
Yeah,
I believe. If I was going to achieve my goal.
Yeah.
But because I grew up without a dad, really.
Yeah.
My mum was sort of trying to. My mum was great, but she didn't know anything about football and how to, give you that sort of coaching, you know what a dad would do, what you do with your lad, and that has to come from, it's like in them days. I'm not saying, but it's a son and a dad thing.
Yeah. There's a different relationship towards it, isn't there?
Yeah, of course there is. So I was very bitter, and I felt like I'd been, dealt a bit of a bum deal or whatever you want to call it. So, and that's when I did going off the rails, got into the drugs and these. And
the experiences,
everything what goes with that, and down that path, and on the brink of really, seriously fucking my life up, So, but now I do worry about. There's so many kids, and they're picking them up at 6, 7, 8. They're just too young, man, and then they miss out on like playing for the local team, which with the mates, and they can't even play for the school team anymore, which is just that is wrong.
Yeah,
it's wrong. But I understand why they need to do it, and
it's like used as assets though. Then I remember my brother was very talented. He got to the nearly moment, and then he didn't. And I watched how much it was. Everything programmed into him, and I look at how much he didn't want to kick a ball after that. He completely gone the other way, because I think I don't know if it were for you, and I can only try to feel what he were going through. Is like there's maybe an amount of shame that you shouldn't have, but because everyone can feel that you're gonna make it, and it's like
feel like a disappointment.
When you shouldn't
let people down, and and it's like, what were I thinking, that I thought I were Billy Big Bollocks, and I can't, and I've not done it.
The self-doubt increases, and
that can go into your normal life. That can continue on if you're not careful, and that's. It's a good question. What you say, what could you put in place? Like to remedy that. But I mean, I know that they do a lot, sort of, like with the education and things like that. But I just think they're brought in too young, and there's too much pressure on them, and I think there needs to be a bit more,
something in place.
If it's not be all and end all, if you don't, and I think what they're trying to do is, because the football, they live, breathe, and and that's it. So, maybe set up, like alternative. There's a lot with like football science, with coaching, and like the medical side of it. Yeah. There's like the agents and all that, so the business side of it. Yeah. So, which I'm sure that they are doing, because that's all. Some lads are interested in football, and it's, if you take that away, then you're taking away their life, their passion.
Because I have the psychology of stuff. Even like Arsene Wenger, when he first came over, and he was starting to get in with the. Nutrition. He was one of the first to bring that in, and then you've seen Mourinho and like the mind games and stuff. So they know the psychology of how, and like that's why I think I'm a Leeds through and through. But Alex Ferguson were great. He knew how to manage people.
Yeah.
He could get best out of people because he knew how to personally
Yeah.
go on. They know the analysis of what happens to these kids, and it's been such a low rate of who comes through.
Yeah.
And they're making all this money off the players that do come through. I feel there's got to be something in place because they're only just starting to really help the players when they've got to a point and they've quit. They've realised how much it plays on their mind.
Yeah.
It's kind of knowing how to approach it really.
Yeah.
And have them facilities in place and teach these kids. I don't know.
There needs to be a plan B, doesn't there?
With all the money that's generated there's got to be, because these kids, like you say, you were lucky and them experiences have built you to be the person that you are today. But the ones that missed the net, and I bet it's just as greater as the people that did come out the other side.
I mean, it's totally different, but it's the same analogy as people who are in the army and have, sort of experienced, sort of, and they're just left.
Yeah.
Like with PTSD, and have seen some terrible
tragic,
things.
mate.
I mean, it is a totally different thing, and I don't.
But
it's
mirrors
the
it, doesn't it?
same sort of process, if you like, but obviously with a different experience, massively. But the outcome is still the same. You just left on the shitty part, and go and get on with it now. We've got what we wanted out of you, and you're not used to us anymore. So thank you, but no thank you.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it is a worry. It's a mate of mine, Rich. His young lad, Harrison. I mean, he's so athletic and he's tall and he's got that. I think he's 8, and he's been playing for. Who's he playing? I think he's playing for Farsley. Is it Farsley? But he's scoring like 8 goals in a game. He's one of them,
Yeah.
But they're taking him off because he's that good. And there's a bit of all that as well, and it's like, playing him in goal, and so give the other lads a chance, which I understand. But it's like, when he's saying you can't,
you got to tame it down,
you can't clap,
you
can't clap for people and stuff. That's just nonsense, man.
Yeah,
that's in pure just like encouragement. They were all the same. What do we want? A world full of clones, But Rich is, because Leeds United have been sniffing around him, and he don't want him to go there, because it's going to take him away from that. So I think he's training with them, but he's not he's not signing any sort of going into the academy thing just yet, and I think he's trying to hold off on that.
A good friend of ours, he was saying the same, but it was with cricket. His friend's little lad were going to be really good. When they're all sniffing him around Yorkshire or whatever, he just says, come back when he's 18. Come back when you're 18. And he's like, no, we need him now. He says, no, if he's good enough, he'll be good enough. If he's not, he's not. It's like, it can get to a point of doing that. I mean, it's easy to say what's right and what's wrong. I've just seen, like, it's a lot of people picking up the pieces of not making it, and I know how many people are not making it, and if there's nothing in place, and drinking drugs is the answer, and it's just finding that niche in it.
Exactly, mate, exactly.
It's so what are your career highlights so far?
Well, I mean, the football murals, you can't get away from that, because they have the most outreach, and interest because of the fact that Leeds United are such a massive, worldwide anomaly.
Yeah, like no one knew how we got there.
But they are an entity
in their own right.
Yeah. Unfortunately, sometimes, but we're all right this week, aren't we? Well done. But yeah, so that is like when I did the Bielsa mural, that just went skyrocket, you know, it was crazy, you know, all over the world. It was in all the papers in Argentina, Brazil, because Brazil were pissed off about it because it was on one of their historical landmarks, you know, an Argentinian manager.
No such thing as bad press.
No, you know, because they hate it's like worse than Leeds and Man U. Well, I don't know. So they were all kicking off about it. Yeah, and a lot of the like in England they were like on Sky Sports, you know, because it was in all the nationals and it was all over social media, Sky Sports, and there were like 50 odd thousand likes and, you know, 5,000 comments, and you get sucked into it. It's like they deserve relegating for this, you know, and all that. It's like, who do they think they are and all that? And it was, so, you know, you take it tongue in cheek, but I had to stop reading it because it was getting a bit brutal, you know. Because anybody who was Leeds, it was just, you know, fantastic. It's like folklore and all that. So, and then you know, painting the one outside Ellen Road. I mean, it's on. Do you know the drone shot? Shall I show you on here? It's like the drone shot from when we got promoted the other day, and it's like you see it from the drone with all the crowd, and it's like, you know, of all the thousands of people there. Yeah. But you see it there, and it looks like someone's guarding it, and it's Don Revy, but he's about 9 foot. You know, but there's no one there, and he's just like stood like the guardian of it, you know. So I love that, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just that gets seen by thousands. And you go anywhere in the world, and it's like you say, you know, like the Bielsa one, you say, it's like a free ticket, that, you know, to you know, anybody who knows anything about Leeds United. So definitely that, and then the one in Pudsey Market with Jack Charlton and Peter Lorimer, Trevor Cherry and Norman Hunter, who they all passed in that year, which was tragic when you think about it. And it was the year we got promoted as well. Yeah. So you can't write that. So that's really special as well. And then all the families came to the unveiling, and it was like Eddie Gray did a speech, and he was in tears. Yeah. You know, because there were all his mates on that wall, and just to know that is like super special. You know, to do that, but the stuff that we do in Africa is on a different level, but has such more, you know, it's like a really deep sense of we're actually, you know, doing some good here, man, you know, and it really is, and it's changed me as a person.
I heard you say that. What were it that changed it? Seeing how people live, or the interactions with John?
Yeah, I suppose it's just being thankful of what you've actually got, and realising all, you know, that the things that we
take for granted.
It was a straightener. You know, it was a proper straightener, and then doing it with friends as well, and experiencing that together. You know, like with Inky and Sen One, who's over in New York, and Chapter. But with Johnny, who's great, who's become a great friend who's the founder of the charity, and you know, we've become, you know, great friends through it all, and an ongoing, you know, sort of general thing to want to do good for people who are less fortunate, and it's not, you know, it sounds like a cliche, and people are a bit wary of charities, you know, these days, because of the, you know, thinking that the money's not going to go away.
Yeah, well, that's where when I wanted to do charity events, I want to make sure it all goes fully to there. And it's funny because when you mentioned that charity, it's, is it Feather's Tail?
Share Tanzania with John, St. John Julian.
I'd been watching the videos when you mentioned it. I just thought it's weird to look up, but that's someone you can look at and you can feel that you know why he's there and what. I mean, he's had a rockety road this last couple of years, and you think most people would have run away, wouldn't they?
Definitely. Well, he's nearly died a few times and had it. He's had like witch doctors and people trying to physically kill him, and he's like responsible for about 400 people, and they all call him like that's his dead father. Not to mention the dogs.
He started off with the dogs as well.
And that's where he got Lyme's disease, because he got it off a tick.
Oh, did he?
Got it off a dog, and that's what's nearly killed him. Wow. And he has to go back to Germany because they don't have the medical sort of.
I heard him say when he was saying they had to put him in a wheelchair. He says it was quite degrading for himself to be brought down to.
It's insane. So, but just to see that, it is truly inspirational, and it makes you, like I said, it makes you value and just sort of rejig what you think's important and stuff. But it's funny, you come back and then in 2 or 3 weeks you slip back into your own, because it's just all the noise what surrounds us. But when you're out there and it's like some of these kids, man, they're like the child soldiers in the war, like they've killed.
I watched a small clip of where
for villages, like 9-10-year-old. It's like,
well, they were doing the videos that I've seen you talking about the black magic, and I could only imagine what they're doing, and it's just like you said, chained up and they're feeding them drugs or whatever it may be, or sex slaves, and they don't know any better because that's the way that
it's education or not. It's like all things what they believed in 500 years ago. It's middle age stuff, man. And it's over there, it is a different world, and it's education. It's like with the AIDS thing, they still don't have it's rife, but they're like, but you see big billboards, but they try and make fun, like, don't forget to use a condom, and there's like a big Johnny with a face on it, just to get their attention.
Yeah, try to have a bit of humour as well.
But they still don't bother.
He's having a bit.
But it's money though as well, isn't it? But they do try to give them, sort of free contraception like that. But is
it a very poor country? I've never been to Africa, and they say it's two different things sometimes. Is it all very where Tanzania is? Is it all very poor or third world?
Well, yeah, because I've been to Tanzania, I've been to Sierra Leone, which are two totally different countries. Tanzania's got this tourist element to it because of Kilimanjaro, so there's a lot of money that comes into it, but and that's great for the kids who are there, and we painted the school, the orphan school there, and they've got teachers who for like art and the music, so there's a bit of an outlet because they can sell their bits of art and stuff to tourists, and so that's good. But you go to Sierra Leone and there's none of that. They're still recovering from sort of civil war 20 years ago, but the infrastructure. There's a lot of like Chinese money and Turkish money. Turkey, I think, have just built an airport, Sierra Leone. It's a brand new airport, because the one we've been twice, and went before, it was like chickens in there and stuff, but this is like
different world.
Proper like first world airport, and it's, you go down the out the town, out of Freetown, which is just chaos, man. It's insane. There's no traffic lights or anything. It's just free for all. Everyone's pipping their on, and it's like like places like that in the world. But then you go down to the beach. There's a place called Number One Beach, I think, and there's two sort of the two rivers come in. It's like a lagoon,
Yeah.
and they come into the sea. And I've never swam in sea, so it was like a hot bath.
Yeah.
And it was that day we had lobster on the beach, and smoked a bit of weed, and they couldn't do enough for you. I had a few beers, and it was like we were just so happy, and it was like, and they were so happy that we were there, and we were like, we need to buy some land here and do something, ourselves as artists, and just have an artist retreat and get other artists over, and they leave for their rent. Their rent. They leave a painting, but these are like, between us, we know it's quite a lot of artists. So, the paintings could sell for a lot of money, and then after a while, do an auction, sell it all, and then it's
also give back to the community.
Absolutely.
I like that.
So, but their story with this lagoon place, this is how beautiful this place is, and so there's like the crocodile. There's a family of crocodiles who've lived there generations. So obviously, crocodile can live to like over 100 years, 150 years. So the generations, and because they've lived with the people, when this is no bullshit, the kids get on the back of the crocodile and can swim with the crocodiles going down and that is no bullshit. That was the locals telling us that, sort of in certain, I think it must be when they're in season or what, I don't know, I forget the full story, but that was just like, this is paradise when prehistoric animals are existing with human beings.
I think we can though,
and that's the thing, because they're not threatened by them. And it's a lot of cause and reaction, and that's why animals a lot of the time will go for you, because they're scared themselves.
And I think it works both ways. I think the show went babies. They got some pythons, didn't they? Not that they could bite them, but they put them in room with these toddlers. They're only like 6 months old, and the kids were just picking them up. They didn't want to do it with them, and like people are looking horrified and went, who's the person who puts fear into them? It's normally us.
Exactly.
Like when children fall over, you rush. If you rush over to them, they'll always cry then. And it's feeding off that fear, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. There was a thing I seen on I think it was Instagram the other day, and it's like this monkey, and it were a cobra. And Cobra's like ready, and he just like that. He just had it round his neck. And Cobra's like looking at him like, "Do you know you're messing with me? I can bite you." And he was just like that, and he just walked off with the thing round his neck. It was a toy, and he had enough and just fucked off. It was so funny, man. Honestly, so. But that was because he just didn't feel threatened. I mean, it might have been a bit pissed off. Not enough to bite him.
Might have had something wacky back into it.
Yeah. Oh, man, it was something else. It was so funny.
Are you getting something in works then to be getting something like that up off the ground?
What, with the...
like an art retreat kind of thing?
We'd love to. We spoke about it.
Sounds like a brilliant concept.
Yeah, I mean, because... the art side of it's great because we, with Johnny and the last night a DJ side to it, because that started with the music, and sort of it was a conversation with Johnny. Why don't we paint the school? That'd be a great idea. And Inky had done stuff with them before. They did like Houses of Parliament, like a spray painting in the Houses of Parliament, and Fatboy Slim DJ'd or something, like first rave in the house. Well, but it was not. Well, they don't have raves, do they? They have raves, whatever they call it, But raving mental, that's what they are, them lot. So, but it's that's how we sort of all came together. But we'd love to do something like that. It would be great. It's just finding the time and the funds as well, and it's just I think the way of the world at the moment, everything's it's tougher than it was.
It's the belt's tightened.
But
no, I've noticed a lot of people don't want to talk about it either. They'll only talk about the price of stuff. There's a lot of people struggling. I think we're in I was watching a guy before COVID who was saying about all this going to go on, and he said, We've been in a recession for the last 3 years. He says we were in a depression, and just no one's mentioning
no one's
it.
saying it, yeah.
And Top News says it's going to go pop.
Yeah, exactly. And then it'll all go even worse. It'll go freaking nuts.
Well, I was saying to Daz who we worked with the other day, because he went, every time Liverpool win the league, Leeds win the league.
Yeah.
And I went, can you remember when we won league? And it was COVID. And I went, something's round corner. And I went,
we've got that lunatic in America, haven't we? So he's fucking doing his best, isn't he?
I just see it's like it's a big board of chess and the moving pieces. But I think the more that I used to be scared of what's going on, there's going to be order out of chaos. And I think this is where we've got, like, the projects that you're working on, stuff like that. If we can inspire people to want to do things for people with no personal gain at hand, you're rewarded back anyway.
Well, you just create your own reality, don't you? And just don't be affected as much. Well, just try not to listen to it, and just don't let it stop you doing good things and things which, you know, are meaningful for yourself and for others, you know. And you find if you're doing something good for yourself, that is going to go tenfold to other people as well, and reverse way around as well. Do you know what I mean? So it works both ways, do you know? So and long may that continue, my friend. So I've got some good projects coming up. All being well, it's just a lot of the things frustrating, just waiting on, you know, council, you know, licensing and stuff, and universities, people, you know, too many chefs jumping through hoops and all that, and it's like, there's one job I've been waiting over a year now, and it's like, you know, I've stopped asking about it, but, you know, if it happens, it happens, and that's how you've got to take.
I think, like we were saying, that there's a lot of people retired recently, like, just because they've had enough of the red tape getting put on everything. Like, I think we worked at a customer. He used to take me to Leeds United games for about 5 seasons, but we were doing some work at his house. I said, how come you retired? He went, I'd had enough. He said the apprentices couldn't use a stepladder until they're 18. So for 2 years, we've changed lights. He's like, so for 2 years, like, it's like that. There's just stuff that's gone way beyond what it needs,
it's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
I get being safe. I totally get being safe, but then there's like, if someone's going to fall off a stepladder continuously and they want, I think it's survival at first. They aren't going to make it anywhere with them.
Mental, hasn't it? You know, but it's because it's like, who are these people who, you know, invent these ridiculous things? You know, because when you speak to most people, they're like, that's nonsense, you know. But you always get.
My personal take is it's to tie you up in scenarios of, like, I listen to a lot of jobs, but when I work at customers' houses and they're on these call centre or whatever, and when they're talking, it sounds like it could all be tuned down. There's people who are getting paid just a little bit of money to stay there just for enough, but it keeps them into a system of like not stepping into their creative mindset. I mean, if you ask most people of what their dream is or what the dream job is, they couldn't tell you.
No.
And they just, but it's so it's so programmed. They just do it because it's just getting them by, and everyone's in that survival mode. So I'm hoping this crash that will happen, I'm hoping it does set people free. Like the COVID, I think it was terrible at the time, and I still think it were not a nice thing, but it gave me a new lens to look at the world, and I think it did. A lot of people shook up the life and went, nah, this isn't for me, let's go find something else. So there's always some positive out of it.
There is, well, that's what he's look, what do they call him, Trump? I forget what he's called. Yeah, there's a load of words we can go
There'll be a
for
few,
it,
won't
yeah.
there?
Oh, God, it's on tip of me.
But no.
So,
Is
yeah.
there anything else that you'd like to leave a message for the next artist coming through, or anyone that's interested in delving into a creative mindset?
No, we'll just come and have a chat with you, Craig. It's
Yeah.
like it's been a pleasure, and it's just so free and easy. It's a great thing what you're doing, just talking about what I'm doing. I'll go away inspired by just chatting with you today, and
Thank you.
and it just sort of reminds me how fortunate I am in a position where you want to know what I'm doing, and hopefully people out there have are interested to hear what we've got to say, and come and talk with a man.
Yeah, thank you very much. No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
No worries, man.